Hey, Greg, I need to leave for a couple of hours to take care of some personal stuff. If Julie calls about the report, just tell her I'm in an emergency meeting.
You promised to fix it by Wednesday, and I'm holding you to it.
Mr. Jackson, I really want to repair that copier on time, but the situation is beyond my control.
Whether it's trying to satisfy customers who expect the impossible or coworkers who ask too much, you deal with conflict every day. And you may not realize it, but how you deal with conflict at work can make or break your career. If you doubt that, ask yourself this question. Who's more promotable? The person who runs to his boss every time he encounters a conflict with someone, or the person who resolves conflicts effectively and efficiently on his own? Hello, I'm Kathy Long for Briefings Publishing Group. Over the next few minutes, you will learn how to resolve workplace conflicts involving coworkers and customers. We'll show you how to avoid conflict when possible, resolve conflict when it occurs, and manage conflict to your benefit and that of your organization. Your guide will be Greg, who will show you how he resolves conflicts with his coworkers in Part 1. In Part 2, he will show you how he tactfully resolves conflicts with customers. Let's see how Greg handles his first conflict with a coworker.
Greg, do you have a minute?
Sure. Come on in, Henry.
That is a really neat organizer. I need to get one just like that. My life has gotten a little too busy lately. Greg, I really need your help. Could you possibly write the sales report for this month? It'll take a lot of pressure off me, and hey, next time we go to lunch, I'll even buy.
This isn't the first time Henry has asked for help covering his assignments. Greg has already agreed to compile a database for him. Greg is in a tough spot. Henry's requests for help are eating into Greg's time, and his own assignments are suffering. On the other hand, telling Henry no outright could lead to hurt feelings, mistrust, conflict. What would you do? One technique is to respond positively, but without saying yes.
Well, Henry, I might be able to write up that report, but I'll have to check my calendar and get back to you.
Greg used a powerful technique to avoid overcommitting himself while remaining polite. His "let me check my schedule" response relieves the immediate pressure to say yes or no, and buys him time to consider Henry's request logically, without emotion. Once he's done that, Greg is empowered to offer help on his terms.
Hello, Henry. I've checked my calendar, and if you can hold off on that report until Tuesday, I can help you write it, say, between 1 and 3 o'clock.
Greg could also offer to help with part of the task.
Hey, Henry. What are you reading?
It's background on Shirley's research project.
Say, about that favor. I checked my calendar, and I can't fit in writing the entire report. But I'll be happy to check the department's figures for accuracy when you're done.
Really? I was counting on you. Oh, well, some help is better than none. Thanks for considering it, at least. I better get started on that now.
Greg's response keeps him on Henry's good side while limiting his involvement in the task. Sometimes you may not be the best person to complete the task a coworker asks you to take on. In that case, suggest a more qualified helper.
Greg, I am really pressed for time. Do you think you could type up the minutes from our last team meeting?
Well, did you know that Dave used to transcribe court recordings? I think he'd be the perfect person to help you out.
All right. Thanks.
One note of caution here. Never lie to a coworker. It's unethical, and it could come back to haunt you. If you have to turn down a request, offer the real reason. Lying is never appropriate at work, but what do you do if a coworker asks you to lie for her? Let's see how Greg handles it. Sally has been missing meetings, coming in late, and leaving early. Greg likes Sally, and he's already covered for her a couple of times.
Hey, Greg, I need to leave for a couple of hours to take care of some personal stuff. If Julie calls about the report, just tell her I'm in an emergency meeting, okay? Thank you.
Greg is feeling more and more uncomfortable about lying for Sally. Refusing to cover for a coworker can cause conflict and make you feel guilty. But lying for someone in your organization can cost you your job. Besides, you should never have to violate your personal ethics to cover for a coworker. Ask yourself what the consequences might be if your boss caught you in a lie. Here are some tactics to protect your reputation as a truthful person and still maintain a trusting relationship with your coworker. First, find out if your coworker is asking others to lie for her.
Helen, I've got to ask you something in confidence.
What is it?
Well, it has to do with Sally. For the past few weeks, she's been asking me to cover for her when she leaves the office. I hate lying to people. Has she asked you to cover for her too?
If you are the only one being asked to lie, the coworker probably sees you as a soft touch. She's banking on your sympathy and loyalty. But you owe your loyalty, first and foremost, to your organization. So discuss your concerns with the coworker.
Sally, I've got to talk to you about something that's really been bothering me. I can't cover for you anymore when you leave. If you've got a problem outside the office that needs attention, why not go to the boss and ask for some personal time?
Express your sympathy by showing concern and offering advice.
Sally, it's becoming apparent to me that your childcare problem is serious. I know you don't want me to keep on lying for you. You know how uncomfortable it makes me feel. You've got to solve this, Sally. Why don't you pay a visit to Human Resources? They've got a list of local childcare providers who may be of help.
Explain how her constant requests to cover up are affecting you and the rest of the team.
Look, Sally, I've talked to the other team members and we're all tired of covering up for you. Besides, by spending so much time out of the office, you're really hurting our group's performance.
Yes, I realize that, and I know I didn't contribute much to last month's sales quota.
That's right, and if you don't start putting in more hours, then we can't make our quarterly goal either.
Right.
You have to solve this problem, Sally. We're willing to help, but we just can't lie for you anymore.
People ask you to lie for them out of desperation and panic. They often don't realize the conflict they're creating, nor can they clearly see other options available to them. If you patiently point out those options and offer your support, you'll resolve the conflict while maintaining the coworker's trust and respect. Now let's look at another form of conflict, when it appears that a coworker is moving in on your territory. That could include volunteering to perform duties that you normally perform, assuming some of your responsibilities, or even stealing one of your clients, as Greg is about to encounter.
Hello, may I speak with Bob Jackson? He's expecting my call. Hello, Mr. Jackson. This is Helen Smith from First Rate Office Supply. I just wanted to go over that order we discussed last week. Right, that's the one.
When Greg returned from vacation, he overheard Helen on the phone with one of his longtime customers. Greg wants to tell Helen to stop stealing his client, but he needs to be careful. Things may not be as they seem. Perhaps Helen is guilty, perhaps she's not. First, Greg must find the true reason behind Helen's actions before confronting her.
Oh, hi, Greg. Come on in.
Was that Bob Jackson on the phone?
Why, yes, it was. Matter of fact, he placed a rather large order while you were away.
Helen, you know that Bob Jackson is one of my longtime customers. What's going on?
Well, I was just taking care of things while you were on vacation.
I appreciate your helping out. I hate to think what might have happened had we missed this big order. Helen, I believe that big clients like Mr. Jackson appreciate stability and continuity. And he's used to working with me. So I think it's best for all concerned if I handle him from now on. But I owe you a lunch for taking that order.
If Greg had confronted Helen angrily, he could have lost a valuable ally and embarrassed himself. Instead, he kept his cool and his client. However, here's a different possibility.
Oh, hi, Greg. That was Bob Jackson on the phone. He placed a really big order while you were away.
Helen, you understand that Bob is my client.
Well, yes, but you weren't here, so I figured he was fair game.
I know you're new here, so you may not understand the system. When one of us brings in a client, we expect to be the sole contact for that client, unless we ask for help.
Okay, I understand. I should have just told him you'd be back this week or taken the order on your behalf.
Thanks for understanding. Now, how big is that order?
Helen is new, ambitious, and doesn't fully understand the ground rules. Once Greg determined that, he calmly and patiently informed her without chastising her for trying to snag his client. You've seen Greg resolve or avoid several specific conflicts with his coworkers. Here are 3 general principles you can apply to resolve conflict at work. 1. Understand your goals at work and how your coworkers contribute to them. Build alliances with the people you work alongside. They can help you reach your goals. Let them know how and be willing to help them in return. 2. Treat coworkers with respect. When conflict arises between you and a coworker, you will gain nothing by belittling or arguing with the person except a bad reputation. And remember, today's coworker could be your boss tomorrow, so always try to lay the groundwork for positive future relationships. 3. Cultivate the grapevine. Gossip is inevitable in just about every organization. You can't afford to ignore it.
Hey, Greg. Did you hear why Sally's been leaving early?
Learn how the grapevine works in your organization, and remember to choose your words wisely. When you speak to one coworker, you may be speaking to everyone through the grapevine. Don't create conflict by saying anything you wouldn't want repeated. Although you may not realize it, next to your boss, customers hold the most direct power to advance or hinder your career. So it's in your own best interest to learn how to resolve conflicts with them. Bob Jackson is one of Greg's best customers, but sometimes Bob pushes Greg too far. Let's see how Greg handles it.
Hello, Greg. This is Bob Jackson.
Hello, Mr. Jackson. What can I do for you?
Look, Greg, about last month's order. You know, the one I placed with Helen?
Oh, yes, I know which one you're talking about.
I really need you to give me a refund on that one.
Well, you know our company policy allows me to offer only a credit.
Come on, Greg. We've been doing business a long time. Don't give me the credit-only speech. Can't you bend the rules just this once?
The last thing Mr. Jackson wants to hear from Greg is, "Sorry, it's not our policy." So Greg has to tread very carefully with his customer. Let's watch as Greg uses a 3-step method to resolve this conflict. Step 1. Don't create an us versus them situation. Tell the customer you understand and empathize with him, but that the decision isn't yours to make.
I know it was an extremely large order, Mr. Jackson. If I had it in my power, I would give you the refund.
Step 2. Don't hide behind policy. If you do, an upset customer will quickly become an enraged ex-customer.
I can go to my boss and explain the situation. Now, the decision is hers, ultimately.
Acting as the customer's advocate helps Greg maintain Bob's loyalty, even if his supervisor doesn't grant the refund request. Now, Greg needs to find out the reason his customer wants the refund.
I understand. Our competitor is offering you a big discount over our regular price.
With this information, Greg can go to step 3, offer alternatives.
What if I could match that savings?
How would that work?
I can give you 20% discount on next month's order.
Now you're talking.
Great.
Greg also could have offered to replace the order with another product with more features. If the order was damaged or broken, he might have offered free repair with complimentary pickup and return delivery. You should always have several alternatives available, so you can offer one that will satisfy the customer. You might also want to learn the reason behind the policy. That will help you explain it to your customer, even if he doesn't like it. It may also help you convince your boss that the policy is bad for business. Greg may have resolved that conflict with Mr. Jackson, but he's got another one brewing.
Greg Sanchez.
Hello, Greg. I just got back in the office and got your message about the copy machine. What's this about having to delay the repair?
It seems Greg promised to repair Mr. Jackson's copy machine by a certain day, but Greg neglected to check if the necessary parts were in stock. Today, he learned that a critical part is back-ordered.
You promised to fix it by Wednesday, and I'm holding you to it.
Mr. Jackson, I really want to repair that copier on time, but the situation is beyond my control.
Delivering what you promise is a basic goal of customer service, but sometimes it's a goal you just can't meet. despite your best efforts. When that happens, follow these 2 suggestions to resolve conflict with your customers. First, find out what's at stake. What appears to you as a short delay may add up to an expensive loss in work hours or output for your customer.
Mr. Jackson, can you tell me what would happen if we can't repair the machine on time?
We've got several major proposals to get out by the end of next week. If the big machine isn't working, we won't be able to distribute them.
Second, re-examine your commitment. Ask yourself, did I promise too much, or did I promise it too soon? The answers may not fix the problem, but they may help you save the relationship with your customer.
Mr. Jackson, I was too optimistic about the repair date. What can I do to make it up?
Well, at least you're being honest.
Greg did the right thing. He accepted the blame and asked how he could satisfy the customer. He didn't offer excuses. But you must be careful not to make any more promises you can't keep. First, determine the level of resources and effort your company and your vendors are willing to commit. That might include overtime for making a temporary repair, express delivery for parts, or in Greg's case...
Mr. Jackson, I think I've got a solution. We're going to lend you a new machine at no charge until we can complete the repair.
Wow, that's a great solution. That'll do it.
You've seen Greg resolve some specific conflicts with his customer. Here are 2 general principles you can apply for resolving customer conflicts at work. First, take responsibility for the problem. We all make mistakes, and Greg made one when he committed to a repair date without checking on parts availability. Greg took the initiative, offering to lend Mr. Jackson a copier until his copier could be repaired. By taking responsibility and finding a solution, Greg resolved the conflict and satisfied his customer. Second, listen to what your customer says about his needs. Greg showed excellent listening skills by letting his client explain the problems the repair delay would cause. In today's diverse and complex workplace, conflict is always just around the corner. It can arise from working alongside people who don't communicate well, or serving customers through multiple channels such as phone, fax, email, and the internet. But with the techniques you've learned here, you should be able to handle conflicts whenever and from whomever they arise. Just remember, no matter how you approach resolving a conflict with a coworker, customer, your boss, or anyone, do it professionally. That way, even if you can't devise a perfect solution, everyone involved will feel good about working with you. I'm Kathy Long for Briefings Publishing Group.